Hiya, my name's Rhiannon, and a few months ago I went to Japan for the second time. Now, this trip to Japan, I wanted to do it as cheaply as possible because honestly I don't have that much money. To do that, I basically decided the easiest way for me to get around would be trains, ferries, you know, the cheaper sort of travel. I didn't want to carry around a whole suitcase the entire way. Like, I don't want to go train, by bus, and be carrying a suitcase. So I decided, I mean, lots of people do it, I decided I was going to backpack. Now, I've never backpacked anywhere before, ever, and the idea of carrying all of my things for 2 whole weeks in just one backpack, terrifying for me. But I thought, fuck it, that's the best way I'm going to be able to do it. I packed all of my things that were essential, so like we got 2 outfits, we got toiletries, we got all the basics, and that is all I took with me. And I wanted to record this video, make this video in case anyone was thinking about backpacking but wasn't sure, and I basically just wanted to show whether it went right, whether it went wrong, so that people could see it and go, oh, you know what, backpacking might be for me, or they might see it and go, that. I also wanted to remember it as well, so I thought recording a video is a way that I can keep that for myself as well. So I hope anyone who watches enjoys, but mostly this is for me. Now, you might notice that I have cut up the video into some parts. That is simply because 2 weeks is a lot, and I recorded quite a lot on the trip actually. When I got to editing the first few days, turns out it created quite a long video for even just the first 2 days. So I thought it would be better to chop it up, and this was after some advice from a friend, to chop it up into episodes. So this episode is basically me setting off and what happens in the first few days. So the plan for Japan was to fly to Tokyo, Haneda. From there I was going to get a train down to Kyoto, a train to Osaka, a train to Kagoshima, and then a ferry across to Okinawa, then spend a few days in Okinawa and then get a ferry back, a train all the way back up to Tokyo, and then spend my last few days in Tokyo. This is how it went, basically. I hope you enjoy. And so, here is the bag that is going to contain my entire life for the next 2 weeks. I got everything packed up, zipped away, and put on some comfy clothes so I would be comfortable for the next 20 hours of travel. My mum, bless her, drove me to the airport, so we got in the car and went on our way.
I think that's because of the traffic before.
I wanted to get a few shots of us driving there, but because we left like during sunrise, it looks like we were driving for hours. And so by the time we actually got to the airport, the rain had stopped and the sun was up. Well, as up as it can be in the UK. When we arrived at the airport, I said goodbye to my mum and then headed into the airport with just my backpack on.
Actually, the nicest thing about an early morning flight is that you can pretty much speed through security because there's not that many people. I didn't take too many videos going in, I don't think you're even allowed to, but I did do a little check-in session.
Just a really quick self-check-in. Checking into the actual flight took as long as usual. Well, maybe not as long as usual. The queue was actually pretty small when I got there because I got here in really good time. But checking in was the same process, queuing up, getting checked in. I did try and check in online, but with China Southern Airlines, I couldn't work it out. Maybe I just don't know how to work their website. But going through security, I have never been through security so far. So, I mean, I must have come in good time because it's no queues. But yeah, really quick.
And so, because I'd made it to the airport in really good time, I took about an hour just to walk around the shops, have a look around the airport and get some breakfast. And then once I was done, I headed over to the gate, waited for about half an hour and then started to board. Now, the first thing I had to do when I sat down was play around with the entertainment system. Now, obviously you can watch movies, listen to music, play games, but I found this one game. It's just a mahjong tile game, that's all it is. But as soon as you open it up, anime boobies. It's just so unnecessary. Also, can anyone tell me why China Airlines make their pre-flight safety announcements this artistic? They also give you this animated flight screen that you can look at any point in your flight to know where you are at the moment. Although honestly for me it feels like watching a kettle boil. Like if I watch it, we're never gonna get there. The flight to Guangzhou is obviously quite a long one, so I did watch quite a few movies and also play a few games on my Switch, but I was mostly excited because they had hit 2004 movie Garfield. I love this movie. The in-flight meals as well were really nice. You can see this one I have beef, rice, bak chow, some fruit, some yogurt. It was all really yummy. When we finally landed in Guangzhou, I headed straight for the transfer because I only had 2 hours between this one and my next flight to Tokyo. I realised really quickly that Guangzhou is humid because I was sweating. And then what felt like straight away, I was onto my much shorter 4-hour flight to Tokyo. After about 20 hours of travel, I landed in Tokyo, Haneda at about 2 p.m. And even though I was exhausted, I was pretty determined to make it through the day so that I could sleep properly at night. After getting through customs in Tokyo, my first stop was to the JR Centre to get my JR pass, which I'd ordered a couple of weeks before and was pretty much going to cover every single train ride I was planning on getting in Japan. And they gave me this little card ticket and said I could not lose it. So I popped it into my bag that was going to hold my passport and my purse the entire trip to keep it safe. Leaving the airport, I made my way to the monorail station where I was going to get the monorail to Hamamatsucho and then the metro to Asakusa. The view from the monorail is so lovely. I'm going to leave you with just a few shots of it, but look how gorgeous this is. I believe it's the Ibatori River, but please do correct me if I'm wrong. When I finally got to Asakusa, I had to do a little bit of walking to find my first hostel, but the neighbourhood was so pretty, I honestly did not mind. Here's a quick look at my first hostel. Like a lot of hostels and capsule hotels in Japan, you've got these rows of bunk beds that are completely separated. This particular hostel was also connected to a really nice cafe. Unfortunately, because I was only staying there for one night, I didn't have time to eat there. I really liked the bathroom at this hostel as well. It was very big, the lights were nice and bright. You had nice individual showers here, places to return your towels. They even had hair dryers you could use. For obvious reasons, I didn't want to record myself talking while I was in the hostel, but I was going through some of my things and I thought I just wanted to show what it looked like from inside the capsule. The setup of this space was pretty basic. You've got like a tatami mat rolled out over a bunk bed and they provide you with quilts and pillows. I'd rate the comfort like a 7 out of 10. Once I felt situated, I went down to the cafe and ate some food that I'd bought on the way there. I'd bought the cannoli in a bakery and everything else I'd bought in a convenience store. And honestly, coffee jelly might be my favourite thing ever. Just look at this. So beautiful. When I'd finished snacking, I went and washed the plane off me. The plane air had slightly damaged my skin, causing a few pimples.
It's 7 p.m. I'm exhausted. It's time to go to sleep. It's 5 a.m. I just woke up. I've got to be pretty quiet because this hostel's in like a neighbourhood. So I come to the bathroom to talk. So I'm getting up now. I'm going to get ready as quickly as possible and I'm going to go because I want to get the bullet train as early as I can. I slept only okay last night. Like I did not sleep through the night. Also, really humid. I don't know what I expected it to be. I expected it to be colder and less humid. I didn't do that much research, so that's my bad. I wonder what it'll be like in Kyoto. I guess I'll find out today.
I got up and got ready that morning pretty early because I wanted to be in Kyoto for most of the day. I took a little bit of time brushing my hair, doing my skincare. I actually spent a little bit longer on my skincare this morning than usual because I wanted to deal with the pimples that the airplane had caused. But as soon as my makeup was done, I got my bags ready and left. It was about 6:30 in the morning when I actually left the hostel, and these streets were so quiet and so beautiful in the sunrise. Just watch this. I then got on the Ginza line from Tawaramashi to Nihonbashi station, and then I walked to Tokyo station to get my bullet train to Kyoto. When I got to Tokyo station, I headed straight into this bakery because it looked super yummy, and I bought a few pastries for the train and some for later. My favourite's the curry pan. Also, look at this shot I got of the bullet train pulling into the station. The design of this train is so cool. It looks so small from the outside, but it doesn't feel that small from the inside. We had to wait for a little while after this because before the next lot of passengers, the cleaners go in and flip the seats around. They literally flip them back to front. They clean the train down from the previous travellers, and they do it so quickly. It's so impressive. And luckily for me, I was right at the front of the queue to get on this train, so I got a really nice shot of the inside. So this is what it looks like when you go into the train. We then headed off, and I realised I probably should have picked a window seat because it was a lot harder to film through the window when I was in the aisle seat. But luckily the girl that was next to me was really nice and didn't mind me filming. Also, if anyone knows what this Ferris wheel structure in the distance is, please tell me. I really want to know what it is. This part is not super related to my trip to Japan, but I started reading this book on this train called The Value of a Whale, and it is a really brilliant book about green capitalism. I highly suggest you read it. I even wrote a song about it after reading it because I was really inspired, that maybe I'll post one day. But back to the journey. Even though the bullet train journey was a few hours, it didn't feel like long till I was in Kyoto. When I arrived, the weather wasn't great. It was raining, but it was really warm, so it wasn't too bad. Luckily, my next hostel wasn't too far from the station, so I just had to do a short, maybe 10-minute walk to get there. And I saw this really cool big crow. Just look at him. So cool. And finally, I saw in the distance what was my next hostel, Hana Hostel. I dropped off my things at the hostel and went out. I went to the shop because it was really warm and bought a coolish. Really nice ice cream actually, very yummy. Also outside my hostel was this pachinko slot machine that would end up becoming my saving grace.
Let's go gambling.
But anyway, on to the rest of the day. Despite the bad weather and my lack of umbrella, I decided I wanted to go to the Inari temple, so I took the train and headed that way. As you can tell, the temple was very crowded. It was hard moving about at first, but once you got in there, it wasn't too bad. One of the biggest draws to the Inari temples is the torii gates, which you can see right at the entrance and all over the temple. There are over 10,000 gates in this particular temple, which is crazy. But even though the gates are iconic, of course the main reason that people go to Fushimi Inari Taisha is to see the temple itself, which is the head temple of all the Inari temples across Japan. At the entrance there are these gorgeous fox messenger statues made of stone, and you're also able to wash your hands as a sign of respect to the Inari deity. As I entered the temple grounds, the first thing I went to do was one of the omikuji, which is a sacred lot you can draw to determine your fortune in various aspects of your life. To do it, you basically shake up one of these little boxes and a stick will fall out when you turn it upside down. The number on the stick will then translate to which fortune you're given. I had a bit of a tough time translating this, but at the very top corner it says Dai, which means very, and Kichi, which means good luck. So I think this is actually the best one you can get. However, if you do get bad luck, there are places for you to tie up the fortune as a symbolic leaving that bad fortune behind. But because my fortune was good, I have kept it and it's pinned up now in my room. After doing the omikuji, I did pray at the temple, but I didn't record that because I wanted to keep that just for me. And I then headed to see the row of 1,000 torii gates. At first it took a while to move through these just because of how many people there were, and it was pouring with rain by that point, so I was soaking wet. Just look at me. I should have brought an umbrella, but it was warm, so it wasn't like too bad. This is definitely what you get for not checking the weather beforehand. But despite the bad weather, it was really cool walking through all these gates. And as we were walking past, I liked to play a game of what can I spot through the gaps. There also were a few more fox messenger statues, but I preferred the neckties on these ones. After the first lot, the gates got a little bit smaller and more packed together so you could fit more in one row. And it was really cute, lots of people were taking photos. Now at one point in the gates there was a gap where there was this sign that pointed towards a completely different trail. It was all written in Japanese and I could barely understand what it meant, but I felt a calling to go up this path. So taking myself away from the crowds and away from the main temple, I headed up this trail. As I was walking up, I really quickly realised it's a bamboo forest, and it was just so pretty. I also then walked up to a completely new shrine. This shrine was a lot smaller, but you can tell that obviously a lot of people have been here. This shrine also had a really pretty garden at the back. And there was a little footpath around the side of it, so I continued to follow the path and see where this trail took me.
Hi, so I was just at that shrine, and there was a little side path down it, and I've led out to this path of like bamboo forest. It is stark how different it is in volume. I've walked down here and it's silent, you can hear the birds. There was like no one down here. To be fair, the path is a little bit out of the way in the sense that you have to go up quite a steep little hill bit to get to the shrine, and you have to go around the back of the shrine to get to the path, but it is beautiful. Highly recommend, and I'm going to stop talking now because I can see someone coming this way. The urge to go up there, very strong. It feels like a forbidden path, but I'm not going to. I'm going to stick to my original path. But look, I don't know if you can see how far you can see out there, but jeez.
By this point I had walked for about 15 minutes, but it had gotten so silent and out of the way. As it turns out, along this path there were a number of other shrines, but they all had the fox messenger statues and the vermilion gates. This one even had a vermilion fence. The more I walked up this path, the more dishevelled it got. There were a bunch of times where I thought I was going to slip. And at this point, I think there were only 3 or 4 people I actually ran into in the hour or so that I was walking. And with so few people, it's really a good thing that I didn't fall down and hurt myself, because some of these drops were crazy and I don't think anyone would have found me. Going through all the footage, I realised I filmed an insane amount from that walk, but this was around the point where I decided to turn around and go back. And with that, I headed back and finished the 1,000 gates. I did a final walk around the temple grounds. I saw some stuff, but probably not everything, but I did decide at that point that I was ready to leave. For the second half of my day, I really wanted to go to Nishiki Market, which is a famous food market in Kyoto. So I then hopped on the metro from Fushimi Inari Station to Gion Shijo Station, and then did about 10 more minutes of walking to get to Nishiki Market. After spending my afternoon in a forest, going into central Kyoto was a very different vibe. And Nishiki Market can be found just off of the high street in central Kyoto. It is widely known as Kyoto's kitchen and has over 100 shops, including lots of food stalls spanning down its long street. I did really contemplate buying an umbrella from this store, but it was just above my price range. The market street was absolutely bustling, and so much of the food looked so cool or so tasty. One thing I was on the lookout for and found really easily was a matcha store. I'd promised a friend of mine that I'd get them some matcha, so where else is better to get it than Kyoto? There was also this store selling really pretty hairpins, and I ended up actually getting one. I was really excited about it, they were really cool. It might be tourist trappy, I'm not sure, but I'm always looking for easier ways to put my hair up. I bought some daifuku because it's one of my favourite snacks ever. I also found this small store that did ice cream sundaes that had mochi in them, and it was so tasty, and there was no one else in the store. And they even gave me a free sample of soybean tea. Honestly, there really felt like there were stalls for everything here, from chestnuts to meat to fish to sweet foods. There was really all sorts. Once you got to the end of the really foodie part of Nishiki Market, there was a lot more streets with a lot more typical stores. There was Seapla, which was a chain of gacha stores. I had to kind of ban myself from going in this because last time I came to Japan, I spent so much money on gacha. And I also found this cool trading card store that, again, I had to ban myself from buying anything in because I'm on a budget. But this tag team card was so cute, I wanted it so badly. Honestly, the majority of the rest of the footage I have from today is stores I went past. I was walking for a really long time down this shopping district. I can say with absolute confidence though that this guy might be my favourite thing I saw. At this point, I decided it was time to make my way back. My phone was on really low battery and I was starting to... Wait, my phone died? How am I supposed to find my hostel? I was using my phone for Google Maps. Am I stranded? I genuinely, I was panicking. I didn't know how to find the hostel. I knew it was in a certain direction, but I didn't know where to turn or what streets to go down, and I think I'm actually lost. My friends would tell you that I'm really bad at keeping my phone charged, but this isn't usually a problem back home because I can read the street signs. I can't read the street signs here. I actually wish this were a joke. I was genuinely lost. I kept walking in what felt like the correct direction, and I genuinely thought I would not find the hostel. That wasn't until I started to hear something familiar in the distance.
And I'm gonna cut it off there. I know I'm leaving it on a little bit of a cliffhanger, but the video was getting a bit long. If anyone has watched all the way through and would like to see what happens afterwards, do subscribe. I will be posting the next bit as soon as possible. For anyone who has watched it all the way through and would be okay with a longer video next time, do comment, because I want to know if this size of video was easy to watch. I want to know if you could commit to a longer video because I have so much footage. So there's going to be a bunch of episodes anyway. If a longer video is what people want, let me know and I will make it longer. But thank you for watching. Please do subscribe, please do like, do all the things, because this is my first ever video and I'm really excited to post this series. And I will absolutely be posting every bit of this trip because I've dedicated myself to doing that now. I've kind of made a promise to myself, so I will be doing it. But thank you, bye. Bye.
Mood.